warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Magandang umaga po. We will now start the public consultations by the Technical Working Group looking at BTA Parliament number 53. Let's start
Recording in progress.
With an invocation. And we have requested the Bangsamoro Youth Commission Commissioner, Nasruddin Dunding, to lead us in prayer.
A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Arrahmanirrahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azaban nar. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Let us stand up for the singing of the Pambansang Awit and then the Bangsamoro hymn.
Mga kababayan, ang Pambansang Awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, ewas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Upang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng bangaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iingin. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidinig. Luman ang araw ng walang pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling ko. Ang inigaya ng bangkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
ask the Secretariat to call the roll.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good morning. May I respectfully request all the members of the technical working group to stay present once your name is called. Chairman of the TWG, MP Attorney Raisa Jajuri.
Present.
Vice Chair of the TWG, MP Engineer Baintan Ampatuan. Members, MP Dr. Susana Nayatin.
Present.
MP Engineer Aida Silungan. And MP Romeo Sema. Okay. 3 physically present, 1 in the Zoom, for a total of 4 members are present.
Okay, so we have 4 out of 5 members of the technical working group present, and we can proceed with the public consultation, which is the only agenda, actually, the only item in the agenda for today. So we can now proceed. Anyway, we can now proceed. We'd like to first thank all the members of the TWG who have come here and those online. And we have other members. We also have the Deputy Speaker, MP Hatimil Hassan, joining us on Zoom. I think that's about it. Of course, Office of MP Makakua. MP Makakua, or the Senior Minister, is the principal author of the bill, and his staff will join us later to make a presentation on the proposed bill. We also have MP Muhammad Yaqub, who is also Minister of MAFAR, Agriculture, Fisheries, and Agrarian Reform. Nasabi ko na. Okay, so first we'd like to acknowledge those who are present aside from the MPs, the members of the TWG, joining us as resource persons coming from the national government, regional offices of NGAs. We have also experts, and then I think we have CSOs and no LGs. So I'd like to acknowledge the presence of several representatives coming from NEDA. I think we have Director Remedios Endencia, Ma'am Fresita Araneta, and Mr. Mark de las Alas. From the DNR, we have Yusek Jonas Leones. From the DTI, representing DTI, we have Yusek Amira Aida Fajardo. And then from the NCIP, we have 2 representatives, Ma'am Jennifer Pia Sibog Blas and Ma'am Leslie Navarro. From the PCW, we have Commissioner Ameline Limbona. And from the NPC Mindanao Generation, representing the Vice President for Mindanao Generation, we have Mr. Romero Pasilan. From the regional offices, from NEDA 12, we have Mr. Romel Patrick Tanghal, who is Chief Economic and Development Specialist of the Policy Formulation and Planning Division of NEDA 12. And then we have Ma'am Dina Koyongkong, also from NEDA. From the Bangsamoro government, we have invited other ministries and offices, agencies. So we have Ma'am Melanie Indar from BPDA, Minister Ahmad Brahim from MENRE. I already acknowledged Minister Yacob, also representing MAFAR, but who's also an MP. And then from the BYC, we have Commissioner Nasruddin Dunding. And from the BWC, we have Ms. Helen Rojas. Also from MENRE, we have Director Nasiri Abbas of Energy Management Services. Okay. And Ms. Attorney Haris Pangyaman from the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Meron. I think we have someone from MIPA. Can you just give me the name?
Yes, I am Felino Samar, representing Minister Nalani Ulama from the Ministry of Indigenous People's Affairs.
Okay, good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us. We have invited some experts from one of whom is Mr. Gelson Garcia, who is also a consultant of ADB. I think we will be joined by others, but I think we can proceed since we already have a handful of resource persons. Just to give a background po of BTA Bill number 53, this was filed with the Parliament and it was referred to the Committee on Rules, which created this technical working group. So this technical working group, which has 5 members, is tasked to conduct public consultations so that the work of the Committee on Rules will be facilitated and expedited. So we've had one public hearing. This was held last week. And then this is our second public consultations. I mean, the outputs of the 2 public consultations, all the recommendations presented during these public consultations, all the policy papers, position papers that the Secretariat has received will be put together and submitted as a report of the technical working group to the Committee on Rules, which has the mandate to deliberate on the bill as part of the second reading process. So hindi po tayo dito mag-discuss. We will not discuss all your positions. We will listen to you and Okay. Okay. Yes, those on Zoom, can you hear us?
Loud and clear po, ma'am.
Okay. Ng video kasi po ay hindi gumagalaw. So we were wondering if we have been cut off. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, it's the Committee on Rules which shall deliberate. And all your presentations, all your position papers, and comments will be submitted to the committee, which shall deliberate, and then which will be the basis of a committee report to be presented to the plenary for further deliberation and amendments. So we thank everyone for taking the time po in joining us today. Your inputs are definitely appreciated, and we shall consider all of them when the Committee on Rules deliberate and when the plenary deliberates. Okay, thank you. At this point, we'd like to ask the Vice Chair of the Technical Working Group, who is also an author of BTA Parliament Bill Parliament number 53, to give some background on the bill, and then thereafter we will hear from the Office of MP Makakuwa regarding the salient features. MP Baintan Ampatuan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. At the outset, allow me to extend my courtesies to our senior Minister MP Abdul Rauf Makakuwa, who is the principal author of the Bill number 53, or the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Act of 2020. To MP Attorney Raisa Jajuri, the chair of the Technical Working Group, for the conduct of public consultations of this bill. To the members of the Technical Working Group, Engineer Aida Silongan, MP Dr. Susana Anayatin, and MP Romeo Sema. To other MPs who are in attendance today, especially to our Deputy Speaker, Hatimi Lasan, MP Muhammad Yaqub, to our invited resource persons from the national agencies, especially to my friends from NEDA NEDA Central Office, led by Director Medi Indencia, regional agencies, experts, and other stakeholders. The second batch coming from the academe and CSOs, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this public consultation. As mentioned by the chair, this virtual public consultation is second of the two major consultations will be done for this bill number 53 by the Technical Working Group of the Committee on Rules as part of the formal process for this legislative measure. This is apart from the previous consultations conducted by the proponent MP Makakuwa of the bill. The first public consultation was conducted last March 17, 2022, with the participation of academe, non-government organizations, civil society organizations, development partners, tribal and ulama groups, private sector. Prior to these consultations, the BTA Secretariat called for position papers for the BTA Bill number 53 through the BTA Parliament official Facebook page. So far, we have gathered significant inputs and recommendations from the resource persons of the first consultation. We are here today to gather additional inputs, listen to public opinions, suggestions, and recommendations, especially from the government partners and other stakeholders on how to further improve this Bill number 53. There will be no debate from among the MPs who are in attendance. Moving on, we all know that sustainable development is a global concern. According to the Sustainable Development Commission of the United Kingdom, it is defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, including the Philippines, provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and in the future. According to United Nations Development of Economic and Social Affairs, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are an urgent call for actions by all countries, developed and developing, in a global partnership to end poverty by improving health and education, reducing inequality, and accelerating economic growth while taking action on climate change and preserving our natural resources. It is also recognized that the attainment of these goals is not only the accomplishment of one country, but one that impacts all countries around the world. It is worth noting that our 1987 Philippine Constitution states the following pertinent provision in its Declaration of Policies and Principles, and I quote, Article 2, Section 5 provides that the maintenance of peace and order, the protection of life, liberty, and property, and the promotion of the general welfare are essential for the enjoyment by all people of the blessings of democracy. Article 2, Section 9 provides that the state shall promote a just and dynamic social order that will ensure the prosperity and independence of the nation and free the people from poverty through policies that provide adequate social services, promote full employment, a rising standard of living, and an improved quality of life for all. Article 2, Section 16 also provides that the state shall protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accordance with the rhythm and harmony of nature, unquote. These provisions guide us in the goal of the country towards development. These are also the reasons why the Philippine government and the United Nations are staunch partners for achieving national development goals and the 2030 agenda, including the 17 SDGs. We have the Partnership Framework for Sustainable Development, which supports the national long-term vision and is integrated into our Philippine Development Plan priorities with 2030 agenda lens, which are divided into three main pillars: people, prosperity and planet, and peace. More importantly, it is our mandate under Republic Act number 11054, or the Bangsamoro Organic Law, to steer our region to sustainable development. Under its Article 6, Section 8, the creation of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development is provided. Such board aims to ensure the integration and harmonization of economic, social, and environmental considerations as vital dimensions of sustainable development policy and practice in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Thus, we should make sustainable development as one of our primary priorities. We have to adjust and be progressive, and in the words of no less than our Constitution, just and dynamic, with the laws and other legislative measures, with our industries and services, and our acts, so that while the country, and especially while our beloved region develops, we do not compromise the future of those who will descend us. We earnestly seek the support of everyone, especially our resource persons today, for the improvement and eventual passage of this bill. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, MP Ampatuan. We will now hear from Ms. Najma Makapundag Panolong, who is from the Office of MP Makakua, and she will be presenting the salient features of the bill. Ma'am Najma, are you online?
Yes, ma'am.
Sige po. So you have the floor. Yeah,
Thank
this is
you.
so that we have a clear understanding of the bill. Although I think all the resource persons were given copies, of the bill itself in advance. So sige, go ahead, Najma.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My courtesy to the members of the Parliament composing this technical working group created by Committee on Rules, chaired by MP Attorney Raisa H. Jajuri, with the following members: Honorable MPs, MP Engineer Baintan A. Ampatuan, who is also a principal co-author of this bill, MP Engineer Aida M. Silungan, MP Dr. Susana Anayatin, MP Romeo K. Sema, and to other members of the Parliament who are joining us today in person and via Zoom, to the resource persons who graced this public consultation from national government departments, LGUs, and other government officials, MP and Parliament staff, good morning. Yours truly is grateful to share to you the salient features of Bill number 53, entitled An Act Creating the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, its framework defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes. To begin with, let me start with the legal basis or background in passing this bill. In RA number 11054, otherwise known as the Organic Law or BAR, an intergovernmental mechanism was created between the national agencies and Bangsamoro government to coordinate and resolve issues on intergovernmental relations through regular consultation and continuing negotiation in a non-adversarial manner. This is referred to as the Intergovernmental Relations Body. There were identified IGRs under the BOL, and one of these is the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. And only this IGR body requires legislative measure for its creation. Hence,
Ma'am
this
Najma?
bill was passed in compliance. Oh,
Please,
yes
Najma.
po.
Are you the
Yes,
one presenting the slides? Can you play it?
Yes.
It has not moved. And also, can you press the play slide? Ano ba yun?
Okay po. I thought I am already sharing, but let me share again. Okay.
Yeah, we have it, we see it, but
Okay.
the slides have not moved.
Okay po. So that's it. Ayan po. Okay na po. It's moving.
Tapos, paki-press yung slideshow so that we get to see the whole slide rather than having the slides on the side. Paki-press po yung
F5
daw.
F5.
F1? F5 daw.
F1.
5.
F5.
Command F5.
Extend.
On the right side, sa lower right, may makikita
Na-click ko na po. Ano na lang po, committee secretary na lang po ang mag-share.
Yan. Sige, the secretariat will share the slide.
Thank you po. Slide 3, please. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So, back. Yan, okay. Thank you, Committee Secretariat. To proceed, Bangsamoro Sustainable Development is among the IGR bodies created in the BOL as one of the intergovernmental mechanism. And this is the only IGR body requires legislative measure for its creation. Hence, this bill was passed in compliance with the law. To be specific, Section 8, Article 7 of BOL states that the Parliament shall create a Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board composed of representatives from the national government and the Bangsamoro government. The BSDB shall ensure the integration and harmonization of economic, social, and environmental considerations as vital dimensions of sustainable development policy and practice in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Next slide, please. Okay, second, in paragraph 2 of the same section and article, it substantially provides that the funding for the operation of the board, the BSDB, shall be included in the annual budget or appropriation of the Bangsamoro government. and certain percentage of revenues to be collected from the exploration, development of any natural resources within the BAR. Such percentage must likewise be provided in a law to be passed by the Parliament, perhaps in the Bangsamoro Revenue Code or in this particular bill. Next slide. Okay, so BOL also mandates the development of comprehensive framework for sustainable development. The crafting of this comprehensive framework will be the crafting of this comprehensive framework will serve as the guide of the Bangsamoro government in adopting program and policy mechanisms that focus on the environment dimensions of social and economic intervention. It shall include measures for environmental justice and governance, as well as for the reduction of vulnerability of women and marginalized groups to climate change and variability. Okay, next slide. Among the declared policies enumerated in the proposed bill are to carefully plan the ecological balance and the natural resources for its use and future generations to protect and improve the quality of life of its inhabitants. Because no less than the 1987 Philippine Constitution provides for the protection and advancement of the right of its citizen to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature, taking into consideration also the doctrine of intergenerational responsibility, which connotes the right of the present generation to sue in its behalf and in behalf of the succeeding generations for the protection of the environment. Next. The provision on the power, authority, and right of the Bangsamoro government to explore, develop, and utilize the natural resources, renewable and non-renewable resources, as well as the authority to declare which areas within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region that may be considered as among the protected areas serves also as the legal basis in passing this bill, with the priority on the maintenance of ecological balance and biodiversity. Next. Okay, so this is the proposed structure of BSDB, the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, to be chaired by the Ministry of Environment, Natural Resources, and Energy, with the following members: the Executive Secretary, or its equivalent position now, the Senior Minister, Minister of MAFAR, Minister of MILG, Minister of MOST, Minister of NTIT, Minister of MIPA, Head of Bangsamoro Youth Commission, Head of Bangsamoro Women Commission, Director General of BPDA, and representatives from the national government to be nominated by them. Okay, next slide. Okay, so these are the powers and functions of the board: to develop a comprehensive framework for sustainable development, as mentioned earlier, which will serve as their guide, the guide of the Bangsamoro government in adopting program and policy mechanisms that focus on the environment dimensions of social and economic interventions. Second is to provide measures for environmental justice and governance, as well as for the reduction of the vulnerability of women and marginalized groups to climate change and variability. Third, to monitor and review the implementation of the policies, plans, and programs to be adopted. This is to promote transparency and accountability. Fourth, to conduct consultation and investigation to prevent irregularities which may arise in the implementation of the policies, plans, and programs, such as but not limited to conservation, preservation, rehabilitation, exploration, development, and utilization of the natural resources within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, and initiate appropriate action thereof. This is to put teeth in the law, okay, for the enforcement of the law. Number 5, to promote the effective use of economic resources and endeavor to attain economic development that facilitates growth in full employment, livelihood, human development, and social justice. To call upon any representative from the national government agencies operating within the jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region or any representative of the local government units or the private sector for such opinions or advice on relevant issues and concerns affecting sustainable development policies, programs, and projects. This is in line with the very nature of BSDB as one of the IGR mechanisms provided by the BON, and to perform such other functions as may be directed by competent authority. Okay, next slide. Okay, so to effectively and efficiently carry or perform the board's duties and responsibility, especially on technical matters, technical concern, the BSDB will be assisted by technical support staff that will be under the Ministry of Environment, Natural Resources, and Energy. And this is to be headed by a director with administrative and finance staff or division. So, next slide. That's it for the salient features of Bill number 53, otherwise known as an act creating the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, its framework, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore, and for other purposes. So, in behalf of the Senior Minister, MP Abdul Rauf A. Makakua, we would like to say thank you for everyone for lending us your ears. Thank you so much. Madam Chair.
Okay, salamat, Najma. Thank you for the presentation so that we make sure that everyone is on the same page. We acknowledge the arrival of one of the last member of the TWG, meaning the fifth member, MP Romeo Sema, who is here physically present. Now we go to the presentation of positions, where we invite the resource persons to make known their comments on the bill. I'd like to ask the farthest, the areas, those from the areas where internet connection is not very stable, and one of which is tawi-tawi. We have invited in last week's public consultations the MSU Tawi-Tawi, the Mindanao State University in Tawi-Tawi, and they were not able to join us. But we now have Dr. Richard Mualil, who is Director for Extension of MSU Tawi-Tawi. Dr. Mualil, may we hear your thoughts on BTA Parliament Bill number 53?
Thank you for the recognition. No? Sorry, actually, ngayon ko lang nabasa din yung salient feature tapos na ano rin, na-present din. So, but anyway, siguro yung question ko lang initially is, how different is with the PCSD of Palawan? And I don't know kung na-mention, does it mean ba kailangan, for example, pag may mga projects implemented in the entire region, kailangan pang mag-seek ng approval ng itong sustainable development ng Bangsamoro Council. So, siguro, more of question lang.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mualil. We take note of your questions, and actually these are questions that have also been raised by some of the resource persons previously and in the position papers, and we shall deliberate on this matter in the level of the Committee on Rules. As to PCSD, we have actually invited them for a separate session so that we can fully understand the work of PCSD and the learnings, the lessons they have learned over the years, and what they can recommend to us as a new sustainable development mechanism. So, Dr. Mualil, do you have any other thing you want to raise? But we take note of what you have already raised earlier. Wala na po?
Okay po. Wala na po so far. And in fact, I appreciate na meron tayo ganitong na itong initiative because that will really boost our kumbaga, environmental programs, particularly tayo medyo very vulnerable tayo sa climate change. No? And ang dami pa rin, sad to say, itong mga illegal and destructive activities sa environment. So yun, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mualil from representing the Chancellor, Professor Mary Joyce Gintosali of MSU Tawi-Tawi. Can we now go to national agencies? Yusek Jonas Leones, would you want to go first, sir? From the DNR, representing the Acting Secretary, Dr. Jim Sampulna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving us the opportunity to comment on this notable bill. First of all, I would like to apologize that our secretary cannot join you to comment on this, but he asked me to attend and give some inputs to improve the bill. Although we have already, Madam Chair, we have already sent initial comments ng DNR, but just to strengthen yung Section 5, powers and functions, particularly item C of powers and functions, Section 5. If it is possible to recommend to the honorable members of the Parliament that instead of monitor and just review the implementation of policies, perhaps the board can also recommend some actions or some improvements in the policies so that it will be clear in this bill, no? Kasi nakalagay po dito, Madam Chair, monitor and review. But I think since the composition of the board will consist of different agencies, I think it's also important that they can also recommend to other agencies how to improve the implementation of the policies and plans. So that's number one. And second, in item D, I'm reading this item. It says here that the board can conduct investigation in cases of irregularities and so on. Just take note that the DNR, in cases of this, we have this so-called Pollution Adjudication Board and Mines Adjudication Board. No, so they have the power to adjudicate cases. So I think if it is possible that instead of just conducting investigation, they can also adjudicate cases of irregularities. Para ang question dito, Madam Chair, after investigation of the board, what will happen to the investigation result, no? So I think it is within the power of the Parliament to give this board the power to adjudicate irregularities, particularly with respect to implementation of policies, plans, and programs related to the conservation, rehabilitation, exploration, development, and utilization of all natural resources within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. So I think these two inputs are just additional to the initial comments we have sent to you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Yusek. We want to ask the Secretariat if they have received the written submission of DNR.
So far, wala pa akong nare-receive sa email na binigay namin where they can send the position paper po.
Okay. Yusek Jonas, I don't think we have your written position paper.
We'll just send you, Madam Chair, nakalagay dito sa aking briefer, nagkaroon kami ng comments and initial suggestions. But we'll send to the Secretariat, Madam Chair.
Okay.
But the initial comment, Madam Chair, is just parang more on typographical and additional words. But substantially, ito yung
on the powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Yusek. We take note of those two matters, both pertaining to the powers and functions of the board. One is in relation to paragraph C. You would want to add recommendatory powers to the board and not just to monitor and review. And as to paragraph D, not just to investigate but also to adjudicate. Tama po.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
May I ask, Yusek, kasi this was raised by some of the resource persons and the opposite was presented as an opinion. They say that since the Ministry of Environment, or in your case, the BNR, already has that function, and there would be overlapping. What is your position on that?
I think there will be no overlapping because, Madam Chair, in our case, the DNR, although we have investigative authority over cases, but these are specific activities. Like, for example, Madam Chair, sa Department DNR, meron kaming Pollution Adjudication Board. It is mainly tasked to adjudicate pollutions, implementation of our Clean Air, Clean Water, and Solid Waste Management Act. So in the case of MAB, Mines Adjudication Board, they adjudicate conflicts in mining concerns, mining issues. So I think in general kasi yung DNR, general functions. Pero ito kasi, Madam Chair, this is a board na to, consisting not only of the Ministry of Environment and Energy, but other agencies. I think it's higher. It's higher than the Ministry of Environment, considering that the concern of the board is the whole Bangsamoro region. But for the Ministry of Environment, medyo specific lang sila doon. So parang ang gusto natin kasi ito yung higher body na that will really provide framework and directions of the policies of different agencies. So yun lang yung aking comment, Madam Chair.
Okay po. Thank you for that clarification, and we will wait for the written submission din po, sir. Aside from yourself, Yusek, you have another colleague who came in. Will he be presenting a separate set of comments? We're referring to Mr. Jomer Kevin Alejandrino from LLO of DNR.
I'm not sure. Do you have any comment, LLO?
Good morning po, Madam Chair and Yusek. I'm merely po as an observer po, and I will be just providing notes po. Recording notes po, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for joining us. Maybe someone has raised her hand. Director Bernadette, are you raising your hand po?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I'm from the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, so we go to DA now.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Director Bernadette.
So, ma'am, pertaining to the composition, I want to be clarified, isa lang po from the national government doon sa bill. Nakalagay doon executive secretary or its equivalent.
Okay. I think the intention, Director, is to have the equivalent departments, of those enumerated in Section 4. So it's not just going to be one, but most probably it will mirror the composition of the BARM ministries and agencies.
Okay, ma'am. Probably we could stipulate the national agencies kasi yung pong sa BARM executive, hindi siya exact counterpart sa national, like the agrarian reform in the national is separate, but in the BARM merge with the DA. So we can stipulate.
We will take note of that, ma'am. We just didn't want, I guess the authors didn't want to stipulate the specifics because we're not sure if we can direct the national agencies to be part of our mechanism in the region. But we will look into this on how to go about the representation of the national agencies.
Yes. And then similar to the remarks from Yusek Jonas, I think dapat nakalabas siya sa Ministry of Environment, probably under the Chief Minister or one of the Deputy Minister, para equal yung treatment among the ministries. And then the director of the TSS, dun sa PCSD kasi, member siya ng board, yung director ng TSS, ng PCSD. So I just don't know if you would like the TSS director to be part, or he can also just be the board secretary. And then dun po sa PCSD, the members elect their chairman and their vice chairman. Dito sa atin, ni-specify natin dito sa ating bill, it's the Ministry of Environment, pero walang sinabi sino ang vice chair. And then, for the structure and supervision, so kung attached agency siya ng Ministry of Environment, pwede naman, but it should not be within. Kasi sinabi may separate division siya ng admin and finance. So I assume it's an attached. Hindi ko po, sorry po, hindi ako familiar sa executive arrangement ng BARM. May attached agency din po ba kayo? Under the ministries?
Yes po. We have the same arrangements in some ministries.
So it could be an attached agency either under the Ministry of Environment, or it could be reporting directly to the Chief Minister or one of the Deputy Ministers. Or even... Sir? And then, dito po sa funding, kasi dito sa PCSD, I think they're authorized to accept donations. Hindi ko nabasa kung meron bang dito sa ating powers.
I don't think it's articulated. But we can take note of that now.
And then, I think those are our initial points, and then we'll be submitting a written position kasi dadaan pa po sa aming USEC for policy. So I'm just representing one of the USEC, the USEC for operations.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. We take note of all the comments you made regarding representation of the national government agencies, the position of the chair on whether it should be a minister or someone who is higher than a minister, and the TSS director being part of the board, whether as member or secretariat, and then whether there should be election for the positions of chair and vice chair, and as to the structure, whether it should be within MENRE or an attached agency, or an attached agency under the office of the chief minister, and then on the power to accept donations. Yun po ang na-note ko, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
yes,
ma'am.
and we will wait. Actually, ma'am, today sana po ang aming deadline for submission of position papers. So if it cannot be done today, when do you think po matapos ng legal or policy?
Ma'am, today po mag-submit kami sa policy, tapos baka they can do something about to send it today or until tomorrow.
Okay, ma'am.
Pag nandiyan lang naman yung boss, kayang-kaya nila eh. Kaya lang baka minsan nasa meeting sa labas.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you po.
Ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. For all those resource persons, once you have been called, and if you need to go, we excuse you na po. We know we are very busy, especially now it's a Monday. So we thank you in advance. No, after you speak, you can leave the meeting po if should you want to. Yes, but I see the hands of Yusek, John Leones, and Sir Garcia, Jason. Yusek first.
Madam, last lang, nakalimutan ko lang yung aking, maganda yung sinabi ni
Sige po.
Director Bernadette. Dito lang sa national government, ang concern ko lang dito, since this is a specific to the Bangsamoro government, siguro yung representative from national government, medyo case-to-case basis na lang. Maybe you can just ask the national government for, parang if there is a need to invite the national government. Kasi kung ipapart siya na kasi ng member ng development board, kasi meron na kayong minister dyan eh. We want you to be independent, yun ang ating intention, di ba? Na you're not, at least kahit paano, yung reliance sa national government ay dapat lessen na dahil autonomous. Tapos siguro ang suggestion ko, in the case of representative from the national government, this can be done na lang in a case-to-case basis if there's a need to invite national government. But as much as possible, dapat hindi na yung national government medyo hindi na masyadong involved sa mga decision-making ng Bangsamoro government. That's just my comment. Kasi yun naman ang intention natin eh, dapat autonomous yung Bangsamoro. So with that, yun lang ang aking comment, additional input, Madam Chair, if you can deliberate in the Parliament. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Yusek. We thank you also for respecting and promoting the autonomy of the Bangsamoro government. However, this is an intergovernmental relations body rin po, sir. So it's provided in the BOL that there should be representation from national. But we take note of these comments and we will see how it goes when we introduce amendments to the bill. Thank you po.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you po, sir.
Madam Chair, permission to leave, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To all resource persons, you can leave na po once you have been called if you do not want to stay or if you have other matters to attend to. Maraming salamat po for joining us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the Parliament.
Thank you po. Yes. The next to raise his hand is Sir Gelson Garcia, who is invited as an expert, but who is also a consultant of ADB and also of Bantay Kita. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to provide my comment. I, like my other colleagues, I'm going to be locking out of this room also for another consultation, which I am managing at the ADB. But after this, I would also like to submit my written comments, most likely tonight, just to beat the deadline. But here are my initial inputs for your consideration, Madam Chair. Allow me to first highlight my overall observation on the bill before my specific comments on specific sections. The current draft certainly highlights the and also the huge emphasis on the management of the natural resources, as they have a huge role in the sustainable development. It's very much aligned with the fiscal autonomy provisions in the Bangsamoro Organic Law, and it's also reiterates the role of the natural resource management as key to the sustainable development of the Bangsamoro. So I can also see the logic having MENRE as the lead coordinating agency or the chair of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. But I also support the initial comments made by the earlier resource person about clarifying for example, the vice chair and other members of the Bangsamoro under its proposed structure. Overall, I also see the bill confirms the recent report, especially the key findings in the report, which we have launched last February about the mining governance assessment diagnostics, which highlights two key findings. One is that there is a significant role the mineral resources, both metallic and non-metallic, can have in terms of driving the economy on the condition that certain areas that need to be reformed are to be undertaken. This includes, for example, addressing the shortcomings of the mining law, the importance of reviewing the tax regime or the tax structure imposed on the mining, as well as the revenue management needs to be reviewed as well, in addition to improving the environmental and social impacts and mitigation when these resources are being utilized. At the same time, I think the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, as it's going to be rolling out in functions in the coming years, it can also benefit from the good industry practices, both here and abroad, when it comes to enhancing the role of the natural resources. So such, let me point to three areas which I feel warranted my immediate attention on the bill. On Section 5, it's good to see highlighting the power of the BSDB when it comes to setting the priority policies itself. For example, when I say reference committee and advisory committee, they can serve as independent advisors or maybe people coming from civil society who have a deep knowledge of the sectors that they are representing. And that can also be another way to organize and systematize the way the BSDB collects and consolidates inputs from various stakeholders. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gelson. Unfortunately, sir, we were cut off for a few minutes. And that was at the time that you were about to discuss Section 5, which is a very important provision of the bill on the powers and functions. And we were reconnected at that point where you were discussing the staffing complement. So can we just go back, sir, to that part that we missed
Yes, I
regarding
think
Section 5, I think?
Yes, ma'am.
Paragraph A.
I think we missed the core points. I think that's the most important part. So my suggestion there really on the Section 5 is to clarify the alignment between the comprehensive framework and the medium-term development plan, which I understand is being led by the Bangsamoro Development Authority. I'm pretty sure that they are quite aligned, maybe just in terms of the language that is used in the current bill. The second one is the, I think I lost my train of thought. Okay, the other one is the importance of the recommendatory power of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board when it comes to setting the priority bills or policies or strategies for consideration by the BTA. Because when we're talking already about the sustainable natural resource management, the resources that Bangsamoro has, it might be useful to say if this mining code will be one of the priorities it can recommend to the BTA, also the sustainable energy, as well as the creation of GOCC or state-owned enterprise, which will represent the commercial interest of the Bangsamoro in any mining or energy ventures or undertaking by the Bangsamoro, so that you will not only be capitalizing or on the taxes that you will be collecting by from this undertaking, but you also have your own commercial interest as an equity holder of this undertaking. So if this can fall under the remit of the BSDB, I think this is going to be providing greater clarity of its function. I think that's my key recommendations on Section 5 now.
Okay, thank you, sir. And after that, you went to the staffing complement already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige, thank you, sir. And we look forward to your written submission. We take note of what you proposed just now, or comments on specific provisions, particularly Section 5. Missing. Okay. Section 5 regarding the link between the comprehensive framework and the development plan. And second, as to with respect to the powers, a proposal to have a link again between the board and the BTA, particularly regarding sustainable energy and the creation of GOCCs for commercial ventures. Tama, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. But if you will submit written position papers, we will welcome the paper as well.
Yes. So
thank you.
Expect it tonight, Madam Chair, and yeah, thanks you. And so I'll also be ducking out now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you po. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I see hands right now, but can you first give way to our resource person coming from Sulu, where the internet connection is also not very stable. So while we have Professor Nagder Abdurrahman, who is Chancellor of the Mindanao State University of Sulu, if he's already ready, Professor, Chancellor, you have the floor po.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, and good morning, everyone. I'm very sorry for being late because we are in the process of preparing our board meeting for IMSU system in Manila. But while we have still the chance to participate, because that's a very important landmark in the history of BARM, creating the BSDB, I think it would be more fitting on the part of the academic to really participate and hopefully provide even minute inputs just to upgrade and hopefully strengthen the proposal, the Act number 53, BT Bill number 53. Mine is just a matter of, Madam Chair, of providing inputs on especially on ecological balance. First is recently Mindanao State University Sulu has partnered with Fish Coral, especially on the assessment of what is being really the condition of our fisheries sectors for Sulu and tawi-tawi. For example, after 6 months research, our team has provided the data that 60% of our coral reef, Madam Chair, is already destroyed, and 30% of the mangrove for both Sulu and Basilan, same case. I think it really needs some interventions in this process. And no problem with the seagrass, but for the fisheries sectors, especially for fish visuals, Sulu and Basilan have registered a continuous deterioration as far as availability of several species are concerned. And I think this can be form part of the rationale of our law. For socioeconomic assessment, our team has conducted nine municipalities, selected barangays in Sulu at the same time, 9 municipalities in Basilan, and unfortunately, the general findings are generally poor. It would mean to say that the fisheries nowadays, especially on fisheries sectors, really need some intervention, and I see it fit that the inaction of this, hopefully the bill into law, will become a pivotal moment for the fisheries sector to be strengthened. Along this line, after several consultations with the team, we have found out that there is really a need to come up with a chain of a line of a chain of reaction from BTA and the Sustainable Development Board, all together with the strong partnership with local government units. Although we have learned that there is such, for example, Bangsamoro Fisheries Council for both municipality and barangay, but we need to have, I think, a line of a delineation of functions or a network of functions. I don't know what's really the exact term, because in our analysis that much that we really want, we wish to have a strengthened Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, but the problem really is in the ground. It's really on the proper regulation of those who are involved in some activities, for example, in fisheries, in agriculture, and as mentioned by our previous resource speaker, on matters of mining industry that we have. So along this line, I think part of the functions is to establish a proper coordination with Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board with those of council. And structurally, when I look at the structure, for example, in down the line in the local government units, we don't have, for example, in the local government units, municipal fishery officer. Instead, that we have only municipal agricultural officer, and I believe that municipal agricultural officer is only expert in agriculture sectors, but quite alarming, they are not also expert in fisheries. And I think we really need to have a close coordination for the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board with the BTA to craft such, if possible, positions in the local government to have this Bangsamoro Fisheries Officer, because I believe that agriculture per se, for example, cannot really look into the possible problems and conditions of what's really happening in the fisheries sectors. These are, I think, some inputs, hoping that that will strengthen the crafting of and hopefully the passage of this BTA number 3. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chancellor Abdulrahman. If you wish, sir, to submit a written position paper, we can still receive it, hopefully today po, as we wind up our public consultations. But we take note of your concerns, particularly the balancing and harmonization of environmental considerations with economic and social concerns or considerations, and also the presentation of the status of the fisheries sector. And I think you also highlighted the need to both for the delineation as well as the interfacing of the functions of regional bodies such as the board and the local mechanisms at the municipal level.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Apo.
Thank
So,
you
thank
po.
you, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us and for
Sige po.
giving your inputs. Magsukol. So now we go to okay. May I call on Commissioner Jennifer Pia Sibuglas from the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples.
Thank you,
Commissioner?
Madam. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Am I audible?
Yes po.
Yes. Assalamualaikum. Mapiansalam kaniulangon. My utmost respect to these to the honorable members of this committee. Madam Chair, the commission, the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, lauds this notable legislative agenda. And allow me, Madam Chair, to please, if I may read our comments on the proposed House bill.
House bill? Or are you referring to the Parliament?
Proposed bill number 53. Sorry.
Yes po. Okay po. Please go ahead po.
Yes. First, Section 2 of the BTA Bill 53 should not only include the recognition and promotion of the rights of non-Moro indigenous peoples, but also the Moro indigenous peoples. The Commission views that all indigenous peoples, non-Moro or Moro indigenous peoples, should be accorded representation and same protection of the laws. 2, in the drafting of the necessary law, implementing rules and guidelines for the sustainable development to be enacted or crafted, the Commission recommends that the rights of the indigenous peoples pursuant to Section 12, Article 8 of the Organic Law of BARM should be clearly incorporated, especially with their rights to free, prior, and informed consent in relation to development initiatives and exploration, development and utilization of natural resources within their ancestral domains, and the priority rights in the exploration, development, and utilization of such natural resources within their area, ancestral domains, as well as the utilization of their cultural, intellectual, religious, and spiritual properties within their ADs. 3, in the crafting of laws, rules, and regulations, also, the Commission humbly submits that due respect and recognition of the sustainable traditional resources rights should be made and taken into consideration, especially that one of the powers of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board is to conduct investigation in cases of irregularities which may arise in the implementation of the policies, plans, and programs, such as but not limited to conservation, rehabilitation, exploration, development, and utilization of the natural resources within the BARM, and initiate appropriate action thereof. 4, the Commission is willing to participate in the discussion during the drafting of laws, rules, and regulations for sustainable development within the BARM. We are respectfully submitting our comments to your honorable office, Madam Chair. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jennifer Sibuglas. We take note po of the points that you have raised and we will appreciate receiving the written position. Specifically, those that were raised were on Section 2, regarding the inclusion of non-Moro IPs, that it should also be expanded to include Moro IPs, and concerns regarding specific concerns that may be included in the implementing rules and regulations, particularly rights of IPs that should be clearly articulated, including FPIC and priority rights for development, and the use of sustainably using resources in the ancestral domains of IPs, and that the NCIP is willing to join us in the discussion of these rules in the future. Thank you po, Commissioner. Magandang umaga, and we look forward to the written submission po.
Shukran, Madam Chair.
Thank you po. And I guess Ma'am Leslie Navarro and
Permission to leave, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner, wala na po si Sir Leslie or Ma'am Leslie and Ulysses Navarro and Ulysses Espinas. Also from NCIP. Yun na
Yes,
po ang
Madam
position.
Chair.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. You are excused po. Thank
Madam
you for
Chair.
joining us.
Permission to leave, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, sir. Sino po yun?
Permission to leave po. May
yes,
meeting na po
Chancellor.
kami sa board.
Yes,
Thank you po,
Chancellor.
Madam Chair. Thank you po.
Thank you for joining us. Okay. Can we now go to NEDA? We have several representatives here. We have the OIC Division Chief, Ma'am Fresita Araneta. We have Director Remedios Endencia and Mr. Mark de las Alas. Sino po ang magsasalita for NEDA?
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning
This is
po.
Director Remedios Endencia. Allow me to give our position on the proposed measure. But before that, please allow me to greet my dear friend MP Bay Intan Ampatuan, who is one of the authors of this bill. The National Economic and Development Authority welcomes the filing of the Bangsamoro Parliament Bill number 53, which seeks to create the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. We have been looking forward to the establishment of this intergovernmental mechanism that will ensure the harmonization of sustainable development policies of the national and the Bangsamoro governments. Given its encompassing mandate, the Sustainable Development Board is the only IGRB board which must be created by the Bangsamoro Parliament. The establishment of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board comes at an opportune time as we prepare for the formulation of the successor Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, which shall reflect NEDA's priorities on pursuing innovation, implementing smart infrastructure, ensuring regional infrastructure equity, and addressing the impacts of climate change. Through the various intergovernmental relations mechanisms, we hope to further engage the Bangsamoro government in crafting the appropriate strategies of sustainable development as an integral part of the PDP. And we hope that this mechanism will also be utilized to identify the complementary strategies in the successor Bangsamoro Development Plan. Now, Madam Chair, let me just mention two specific comments on Section 5. We suggest to strengthen the provision on coordination and conflict resolution, which are primary mandates of the IGRB. And second, as is the practice in other IGRB mechanisms, we suggest to consider including a provision for a joint national government BARM secretariat. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Director Remedios Endencia from NEDA. We have taken note of the proposal to strengthen the provision on coordination and conflict resolution, as well as the having a joint secretariat, meaning from both Bangsamoro and the national governments. And if you have any written position paper po, we will also welcome its submission. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We will submit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Remedios. So can we na, okay na po from the other representatives, no? Yeah. There is someone from Region 12 of NEDA. I think Sir Romel Patrick Tanghal, who is Chief of the Economic Development Specialist and Policy Formulation and Planning Division. Sir Tanghal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to the Honorable TWG Chairperson, MP Attorney Raisa Jajuri, Honorable Vice Chairperson, MP Engineer Baintan Ampatuan, other TWG members, MP Engineer Aida Silongan, MP Dr. Susan Anayatin, and MP Romeo Sema, officials from the different ministries and national government agencies, especially to our director from the Regional Development Staff, Director Remedios Endencia. On behalf of Regional Director Teresita Socorro Ramos of NEDA Region 12, may we express our appreciation for considering us as a stakeholder for this proposed Bangsamoro law. As an input to this legislative initiative, we in the Soxargen region are one with the BARM leadership, the BTA, as well as the authors of Bill number 53 in this noble undertaking. The institutionalization of a structure which will focus on creating a comprehensive framework for sustainable development in BARM will therefore ensure that the region's natural resources shall be managed, conserved, utilized, and developed under the SD principle of meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Moreover, the proposed bill is well-timed and appropriate given that the Philippines and all the regions, including the BARM, are expected to contribute in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, which is more or less 8 years from now. Given that one way of measuring the SDGs is to focus on the 5 Ps or people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships, the creation of the BSDS will provide the balance between taking care of the planet or protecting Earth's ecosystem for all societies and its children and pursuing prosperity, which is to grow a strong, inclusive, and transformative economy in the Bangsamoro region. It should be noted that as neighboring regions, Soxargen and BARM share common resources such as the Ligiwasan Marsh and the Moro Gulf. Thus, the environmental degradation of these shared natural resources will have adverse impact and ramifications to both regions. Relatedly, the creation of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board is also consistent with the subcommittee on SDGs that was established under the Development Budget Coordination Committee or the DBCC of the NEDA board. This proposed legislature is supportive of existing development vision, goals, and objectives of the country, specifically our long-term vision of a matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay para sa lahat, or the ambition natin 2040, which is anchored on the principles of sustainable development, of inclusive growth, and leaving no one behind. May I inform the Honorable Chair that the inputs of NEDA 12 was transmitted through email and the Secretariat duly acknowledged the receipt of this submission. On behalf of NEDA 12 Regional Director Teresita Socorro Ramos, who is also the Vice Chairperson of the Regional Development Council 12, thank you once again for this opportunity and good.
Yes, thank you. Wait. I think we received already, no? The written submission of NEDA 12. Wala. Are you sure? Parang may nakita. Okay, sir, if you can send us the written submission. I think what we received was a letter. Are you referring to the same document,
Yes,
Sir
ma'am.
Tanghal? Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
we
The
are in
position is
receipt
already
of
in the
this letter. Okay, which
Thank
is
you, ma'am.
basically in support of the creation of the board, essentially,
Yes, ma'am.
sir. No? And wala kayong specific comments particular to a provision or number of provisions? Wala naman po. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Romel Patrick Tanghal, who is the Chief of the Policy Formulation and Planning Division of NEDA Region 12. Yeah. At this point, may I call on Yusek Amira Aisha Fajardo representing Secretary Ramon Lopez of the Department of Trade and Industry, Yusek Fajardo. You have the floor po. Yusek
Good morning.
Fajardo.
Yes, good morning po. I'm Darcy Aguilar po, from representative from the Office of Undersecretary Amino Fajardo. For now, we would like to apologize po since the invitations was just sent to us this morning and we didn't have the chance to prepare for our suggestions and comments. Nonetheless po, we would like to have time to review po and submit and to follow our comments and suggestions if ever and refer it to our Undersecretary Amino Fajardo po.
Sige ma'am. When do you think you can send the document po?
We will check po if this day or tomorrow, ma'am, since we would like to apologize again since the invitation for the meeting was just forwarded to us this morning po.
Okay. Sige po, we will wait for it within the day or tomorrow.
Yes,
For the
ma'am.
information of everyone, the Parliament will be going on recess after this week. And so we're trying to check whether we can have the deliberations at least in the Committee on Rules before we adjourn and see what else we can do within the 3-day session, 3 days of sessions within the week. So we will appreciate, ma'am, if we can get the document up to tomorrow. Salamat
Yes po.
po
Thank
for
you so much
joining.
po.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
So that's DTI. And can we hear from Commissioner Ameline Limbona of the Philippine Commission on Women? Commissioner Limbona. Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to ask an apology because I cannot on my camera due to the internet connection. Anyway, in behalf of the Philippine Commission on Women, with our chairperson, Sandy Montano, we all welcome the BTA Parliament Bill number 53, the Sustainable Development Board Act of 2020. This is a laudable act from the Bangsamoro for having a plan about the sustainable development intended for the whole barn. With regards to our comments, just like it is also my first time to have received this invitation, but then I am trying my best to listen as we go along. I would like also to, I believe that it is also very important to join that we will have a joint national board secretariat so we can also make further contribution and in support with the PCW on making contributions by Filipino women to Philippine culture and traditions. It must be preserved and enhanced in process of modernization. Sa totoo lang po, I would like to suggest that before we further act on exploration and we conduct on shall we say, a sustainable development, we should also look into consideration that some of the cultural structure must not be destroyed for reasons of economic development. Ang akin lang po is whatever it is the development that we want to, sana wag pong mapabayaan na hindi natin masira ang ating mga cultural structure, which plays an important role in our history and in aid of preservation of our culture and traditions. And we are very much willing to participate, and if needed, the PCW is very much ready to be part of this. And Sukran and Alhamdulillah, Madam Chair, for giving me the chance to be one of the resource speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Limbona. Salamat po for joining us and for proposing that instead of Bangsamoro Government Secretariat to have a joint secretariat, and a reminder that when we take on economic development projects, that there should be consideration of cultural structures that the projects may affect, and that you offer your participation in the, I guess, in the next steps, which would be the rules and regulations making in relation to the bill. Thank you po, Commissioner.
Madam Chair.
Okay. Sige po. So we have, can we now go to, we have the National Power Corporation. We have several representatives. I'm not sure who is going to speak for NPC, but we acknowledge the presence of Mr. Romeo Pasilan, Diamond C. Mao, Kari Maranda, and Attorney Alex Makabangkit. They're all from NPC. May we know who is going to speak for NPC?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
May I speak first on behalf of National Power Corporation?
Okay, Sir Kari Maranda, please go ahead.
Karis, ma'am, Karis.
Karis, sorry po.
First and foremost, we would like to congratulate the BTA for sponsoring this kind of bill. No? This is a very laudable bill. This BTA Parliament Bill number 53. Now, as we understand it, Madam Chair, this board is for the purpose of developing a comprehensive framework for sustainable development through the proper conservation, utilization, and development of natural resources. Now, to all the members of this parliament, may we inform you that for NPC, we have two big power plants located within Lanao del Sur. We have Agus 1 and 2. Now, these two power plants are two power plants which distribute power covering the areas of the Bangsamoro. Now, because of this, Madam Chair, we feel that NPC should be given an important role in this development board. That's why in one of our comments, Madam Chair, in Section 4, as we understand it, that the national government should be represented also in this board. So if we may suggest, we would like you to consider National Power Corporation to be a member of this board. Now, aside from this, Madam Chair, aside from these two power plants located within the Barm area, we also have projects, rehabilitation projects within the Lake Lanao area. Now, secondly, we also have infrastructure projects for the communities for the province of Lanao del Sur. These projects are mainly requested by the local government units for their social and economic improvement. So with this, Madam Chair, we suggest that considering that NPC has a very big role in power production within the Barm area, as well as its development projects for the social and economic upliftment of the people of Lanao del Sur. And perhaps this will also expand to other Barm areas. We feel that National Power Corporation should be represented in this development board, Madam Chair. Now, second observation also, Madam Chair, we were able to participate just recently, I think that was 2 weeks ago, we were able to participate in the deliberation of the Ranao Development Authority. And in that public consultation, it was agreed among the members of the BTA that NPC will also be a member of that governing board, because there is also a RDA board which is to be created under the Ranao Development Board. Now, because of this, Madam Chair, we feel that this Sustainable Development Board and this RDA are more or less related with each other. So, in order for NPC to contribute also some of these inputs in the development of the Barm area, we believe that in this Sustainable Development Board also, NPC should be a member as part of those national government agencies that should be represented. Just for the verification also, clarification, Madam Chair, we are also wondering because we understand that RDA is also for the development, protection, and conservation of natural resources. In fact, during the deliberation of that proposed BTA bill, there were, I should say, resistance or from other member government agencies because the functions will be absorbed by this RDA and by the RDA board. So that is one question we would like to be clarified also. Well, di ba magkakaroon ng overlapping din itong Sustainable Development Board? With that board to be created under the Ranao Development Authority. Yun lang po muna, Madam Chair. Thank you po.
Sige po. Thank you. We take note po, sir, of your the comments that you made specifically on Section 4. And your proposal is to include NPC as a member of the board, considering its projects and the two power plants generating power, Agus 1 and 2 in Lake Lanao. And then your question on the possible overlapping with the Ranao Development Authority. We will consider that, sir, in the deliberations of the Parliament. So these are separate legislative initiatives, and we will have to reconcile provisions from bills, no, that are intended to be enacted as law. And we will make sure that there will be no confusion between the work of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development, BSDB, and if enacted, also the RDA. So we will flag that, sir, as a concern. May magsasubmit pa ba kayo ng written proposals or yun na po? Sir Caris?
We will try our best to submit proposals, Madam Chair.
Okay. And with respect to your colleagues, do they share what you just presented, or are there other concerns that we have to hear from them? I'm referring to Mr. Pasilan, Mao, and Attorney Makabangkit.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, sir.
We share the observations of Mr. Caris Miranda, and this representation does not have additional comments.
Okay, thank you, sir. But thank you for joining us as well. So can we now move to the first person who was here, physically present? Nash, okay ka? Nahawa na ako sa'yo. Sige, before we go back to Zoom, we have the one commissioner from the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, representing Cotabato City, Maguindanao, and the Special Geographic Area. Commissioner Nas Dunding, you have the floor, sir.
Sige po. A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. First and foremost, I'd like to, on behalf of our chairperson, MP Marjani Mimbantas Makasalong, we would like to greet our respective members of the technical working group, led by our MP, Attorney Raisa H. Jajuri, also our Vice Chairperson, MP Engineer Baintan A. Ampatuan, my teacher, the Dr. Susana S. Anayatin, and also MP Romeo K. Sema, and also the rest of the members of the parliament who are also joining via Zoom, and the other dignitaries via Zoom. From our end po, first and foremost, we'd like to say thank you kasi sa unang draft pa lang po, we've already seen our presence being the Bangsamoro Youth Commission. To be a member of this board is very meaningful in our side. That's why when we received the message from the Secretariat, kahit nasa Manila pa kami that time for the Jabida commemoration, ay nag-designate na kami na we will be attending physically and also try to provide some inputs from our end. And our presence this morning, Madam Chair, is the manifestation of the commitment of the Commission in pushing through our role and also in the passage of the Bill number 13, inshallah. 53 po, sorry. Doon po sa, magbibigay na rin din po kami some of yung mga maliliit na comment lang din po because I think maganda na ho yung draft na naano natin. I would like to manifest din po na from the hundreds of the accredited youth organization of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, almost 80% have their thrust on environmental protection and sustainable development, following through the 2030 sustainable development goals na meron po tayo with the United Nations and also Philippines as one of the signatory. First, ano lang po namin, manifestation, dun po sa membership nung doon po sa composition, under section 4, composition, if we, kung pwede pong mag-add pa po nung members, and we're thinking po yung vital and meaningful representation of first, the BPDA, second, the MPW for the environmental protection, third is the Darul Ifta, and I have fourth, which I heard earlier from a commissioner from PCW, I think, or NCIP, from BCPCH po, yung importance po ng preservation din po ng ating mga cultural heritage. Then, second po, we would like to ask kung pwede rin ho tayong mag-add ng di man regular pero ex-officio members po, representing ng ating academe, CSOs, and business sector. Third one, section 5, paragraph B, we would like sana ho maka-insert din po doon sa after the word vulnerability of women plus youth and marginalized groups to climate change and variability. From our end po, yun po yung ilang manifestation that we would like to provide in this particular consultation. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Nash, for waiting
Okay lang po.
and providing us some input. So we take note of the support for the BYC representation in the board, but you're also suggesting for the inclusion of MPW, Darul Ifta, BCPCH. I think BPDA is already included, but specifically the language says it's the Director General of BPDA. You're also proposing the ex officio or, not as regular members, I guess that's what you mean, but the inclusion of CSOs, academe, and business sectors. And then I did not get that. So it's section 5, paragraph B, no? To include not only the identification of women as one of the marginalized groups, but also the youth. Ano ba? Youth. Okay. So inclusion of the word youth after women, no? Sige. Thank you so much for the input, and definitely this will be included in the presentation or the report of the TWG to the technical working group. Okay. So can we now go to before I go to the ministries and agencies, we have someone from the Mindanao People's Peace Movement, one of the CSOs that we invited for last week's consultation. We have the chairperson of MPPM, Mr. Rodelio Ambangan, online. Humabol po siya since they were not able to join us last week. Mr. Ambangan. Andyan pa. Wala. Sige, nawala daw siya. Paki-contact na lang if he can join us now. But in the meantime, we can go to the regional offices. But before we go to the Bangsamoro agencies, I failed to recognize a representative coming from DNR, but from the regional office. Baka po merong separate na comments. Si Engineer Mama Samaon, who is Assistant Regional Director of DENR 12. Engineer Samaon, nandyan po ba kayo? Nandyan pa siya. Engineer Samaon. Kung may additional points po kayo aside from those raised by DNR National Office. I guess wala. Or we can go back to him later. So can we now go to the ministries and agencies of BARM? Sige. Can we now listen to BPDA? And we have Ma'am Melanie Indar and also Sir Paul Mamaon from BPDA. Go ahead po.
Okay, good morning and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I have to transfer now because I have an unstable internet and I am actually using the video of Mr. Paul Mamaon. So my courtesy to the principal author of this bill, MP Abdurrauf Makakua, the chair of the technical working group, Attorney Raisa Jajuri. Of course, we have our boss, my former boss, MP, Engineer Baintan Ambatuan, and to other members of the technical working group. Good morning and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. In behalf of Bangsamoro Director General Muhajirin P. Ali, the BPDA commends the Bangsamoro Transition Authority through the Bangsamoro Parliament for coming up with this proposed measure, which seeks to establish the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board in the BARM. BTA Bill number 53 is found to be consistent with the provisions of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, specifically as provided for under Section 2 of Article 6 and Sections 2 and 3 of Article 13. To further refine the proposed bill, the BPDA will submit its recommendations as well as comments to the technical working group for consideration in the preparation of the final report for this particular bill. We have actually some minor comments also on the on the sections 1, 2, and other sections of the bill, but we will just highlight important comments and recommendations that we would like the technical working group to consider. Under Section 4, Composition of the Sustainable Development Board, we recommend that the chair of the Sustainable Board shall be the chief minister or the senior minister of the BARM, as the board will necessitate decision-making or policy-making on matters pertaining to the judicious utilization and management of the region's natural resources, and the MENRE shall serve as the vice chair of the board. We also recommend the inclusion of the Bangsamoro Attorney General's Office and one member from the Bangsamoro Parliament, specifically the Committee on Environment, as member of the board. The members are composed of the heads of the ministries and agencies, and it was highlighted that the ministries, offices, and agencies will be represented by the ministers. But for the case of the BWC and the VYC, we would like to highlight that it should be the chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, as well as chairperson of the Bangsamoro Women Commission. And for the BPDA, instead of the BPDO or Bangsamoro Planning and Development Office, it should be corrected as the Bangsamoro Planning and Development Authority. For the powers and functions, we would like to recommend that to highlight recommendatory functions in terms of policy making as well as formulation of plans as part of the functions of the board. And for the purpose of clarity, there is also a need to specify the adopting body being referred here in this particular function, monitor and review the implementation of the policies, plans, and programs to be adopted. Is the policies and plans and programs to be adopted by the Sustainable Board, or if not, it is by who will adopt these policies that will be monitored and reviewed by the board. And I think we also recommend to have an additional provision which provides additional membership from other sectors as may be necessary and upon consideration and recommendation of the approval of the board. Another is, for the technical support staff, it should be highlighted that the TSS shall serve as the technical secretariat of the board. And the TSS shall not be an attached agency, but rather it should be a division or unit within the MENRE that will act as the technical secretariat of the board. And if it is actually a unit or a division, meaning to say the administrative as well as the finance support services shall be lodged to the ministry. Since the bill also proposes for the establishment of the technical support staff within MENRE, the bill should also incorporate a provision defining the functions and responsibilities of the TSS. For Section 7 board meeting, in terms of specifying internal rules and regulations, we would like to recommend that it should not be regulation, but it should be internal rules and procedures of the board. And we also support the recommendation of coming up with the creation of a Sustainable Development Executive Committee of the board or a Sustainable Development Advisory Committee under the board. The proposed Executive Committee or Advisory Board will assist actually the board in the discharge of its functions. And the composition of this committee shall also be defined in the bill. There is also a need to clarify and define the complementation of the functions of the board with that of the Bangsamoro Economic and Development Council, as the proposed Sustainable Development Board aims to ensure the integration as well as harmonization of the social, economic, environmental considerations as dimensions of sustainable development policy and practice in the bond. With that, Madam Chair, we will be submitting our recommendations and comments to the PWG, and expectedly we will be transmitting these comments within the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ma'am Melanie from BPDA. Essentially, BPDA supports the creation of the board.
Hindi pala ako naka-start video.
Okay. And some of the comments which will be expounded on in a written submission are the following. For the chair to be the chief minister or the senior minister, and for Menre to take on the position of vice chair rather than as chair. As to membership, it is proposed that the Bago have one representative in the board as well as the Committee on Environment from the Parliament. And for BYC and BWC to be more explicit that it should be the chair of these commissions who shall sit in the board. Correction din sa BPDO to make it BPDA. Still on composition, that there should be a provision allowing the board to approve the inclusion of other members as may be necessary, not only those that have been specifically mentioned. For the functions, there is a recommendation to clarify that provision or that paragraph regarding the monitoring of policies, whether the policies are the policies that have been passed by the board itself or policies of other ministries in the Bangsamoro. And for the TSS or the Technical Support Service, it should be clarified that they are the Technical Secretariat, and the proposal is that it should be a division which should be an integral part of MENRE and not an attached unit. And that therefore the financial requirements for running the board shall be allocated to MENRE and to add the functions of the TSS. The proposal is also to amend that portion on the internal rules and regulations that there should not be, I guess, any IRR, but internal rules of the board that should be formulated by the board itself at a later point in time. And that there should be an executive committee or an advisory board or an advisory council of sorts that will support the work of the board and provide advice to the board and expedite its work. And clarify the complementation of functions between BSDB and the Economic Development Committee of the BEDC. So yun po ang na-take note namin, Ma'am Melanie, but if you want to expound on these points in your position paper, we will welcome that as well. So can we now move
Thank you po.
Thank you po. We'll now move to MOST. And for the MOST, we have Abdelwin Sangkula who will be presenting its position on the matter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, for inviting us to this public consultation. My courtesies to the members of the Technical Working Group, MP Engineer Baintan Ampatuan and MP Dr. Susana Anayatin, Ma'am, and to all the members of the Technical Working Group
who are present with us via Zoom. Good morning, Assalamualaikum. Actually, I have two representations here, but because I was asked by my boss, MP Engineer Ida Silongan, then I'll be wearing a hat for the MST. Here are some of the key comments and proposed amendments that we will be submitting to the technical working group. One is in line 23, first page, the second paragraph, in the explanatory note, there was a phrase on inclusivity principle. However, we believe that as far as sustainable development concept is concerned, the principle on intergenerational equity is more appropriate because it refers to the issue on fairness and justice between generations on the use and benefits of resources. So, Madam Chair, we are proposing that it should be changed to principle of intergenerational equity. The second comment and proposed amendment is in line 11, page 2, on the title of the bill, which I will be discussing later on the rationale why we have to change the title from creating the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, to an act adopting the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Framework, creating the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes. The framework, we believe, should be the overarching guide of the board in defining its strategic directions and making policy decisions. So therefore, work for the board to follow. Third, in line 23 to 24, page 2, we are proposing to revise the sentence from for its use for the use of future generations to for the use of current and future generations. Next is in line 4, page 3. We are proposing to change the word Filipino to inhabitant to be more inclusive. In line 24, page 3, the board, we believe that should be chaired by the chief minister and co-chaired by the Minister of Mendre. With this setup, there will be checks and balances, as the responsibility in presiding the board, meaning by the chief minister, is different from managing the day-to-day operations, which will be co-chaired by Mendre, and the TSS is actually is lodged at the Mendre. So therefore, with this setup, the Mendre will be focusing on the day-to-day operations of the board through the TSS. In lines 29 to 34, page 3, and line 1 to 6 in page 4 on the composition of the board, we are proposing for the board that we should include the following: a member of the Council of Leaders upon the recommendation of the said council, one representative each from an environmental NGO in the Bangsamoro, the academic community in the Bangsamoro, and the business sector in the Bangsamoro, to be appointed by the Chief Minister upon the recommendation of the board. The following provisions are also recommended to be inserted after Section 2 on Declaration of Policies. So this is the rationale why we have to change the title, because we will be inserting two important provisions which we believe that would set the overarching framework for the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. So we are proposing Section 3 on Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Framework if I may read, Madam Chair, on this particular section, the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Framework, or BSDF, shall be composed of 5 dimensions: the moral governance at its core, environmental vicegerency, social justice and well-being, respect to culture, and belief in economic progress with equity. Another section on section 4, which actually defines the philosophy of the Sustainable Development Framework, which I have just mentioned earlier. In another proposal, in lines 18 to 20, page 5, it is proposed that 5% of the revenues collected from the exploration, development, and utilization of any natural resources within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be allocated for the operation of the board. Such allocation would actually help the board to do its administrative and quasi-judicial functions, monitor the implementation of its policies, and commission an in-depth studies and researches on natural resources, among others. Another one, there should be a separate section on the implementing rules, but it was mentioned earlier, the internal rules. We will leave that to the technical working group to consider. But in this case, the internal rules, the implementing rules and regulations would define in more details some of the provisions of the bill. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Mr. Sangkula, we take note of the MOST position, but you were, as you mentioned, you were also invited as an expert. Would you care to present any other comments outside of the MOST concerns as an independent expert on the matter? If you're not ready now, that's also a proposal for you to submit a written submission. Okay. But for now, I will just recap what you said on the explanatory note. Rather than in the principle of inclusivity, you're proposing intergenerational equity. You also propose the revision of the title or amendment of the title to include the adoption of the Sustainable Development Framework and not just focus on the creation of the board. And specifically on page 2, there's a proposal to add current, not only future generation. Page 2 or page 3? I'm not sure. Okay. And then on page 3, that's the one on Filipino inhabitants, no? On page 3. As to the composition, you're proposing that the chair should be the chief minister and that the MENRE should co-chair the board. And this will support also the provision that there is a TSS that will be part of MENRE and that will support the ministry in the day-to-day operations of the board. There's a proposal also to add more members, specifically a member of the Council of Leaders, an NGO representative, representatives from the academe and also from the business sector to be appointed by the Chief Minister upon recommendation of the board. And that there should be 2 provisions after the section 2, and one section will enumerate the framework, no? Present the framework and it will have 5 dimensions, and another section that will expound on the philosophy of the Sustainable Development Framework. Another proposal is to articulate that 5% of any collection coming from the exploration, development, and utilization of natural resources in the BARM should be used or should be allocated for the operation of the board, and that there should be a separate section on the IRR detailing some of the provisions in the bill. Tama po ba? Okay. and that we are inviting you to submit a separate position paper as an independent expert.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I will be submitting a separate position paper on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of some members of the Parliament who have joined us as the consultations proceeded. And we have MP Haron Abbas, aside from those that I already mentioned earlier, who are mainly the TWG members. We also have MP Rasul Mitmog Jr., MP Sultan Edris Sarimbang, MP Emil Bahar Mawalil. Wala na. And then of course, yung na-mention ko na po kanina earlier, si MP Hatimil Hasan, Deputy Speaker, of course, si MP Aida Silongan, who is part of the TWG. Okay. Can we now proceed to other ministries? So we have had BPDA and MOST. Can we hear from Minister Ahmad Brahim, the Minister of Environment and Natural Resources and Energy? Minister Brahim, you have the floor po. Minister, naka-mute po pa po yata ang mic. Please unmute.
Good morning po sa inyong lahat. My respect to the Technical Working Group Chair, Ma'am Attorney Raisa Jajuri, to Ma'am Baintan, MP Baintan, Ampatuan, to Ma'am Aida Silungan, other MP who are present today, and also our guest in this morning presentation. As far as the Benri is concerned, this bill is authored by our Senior Minister, Abdurrauf Makakua, the BTA Parliament Bill number 53, otherwise known as the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board Act of 2020. Well, on the best of the presentation of the representative of our Senior Minister, Sister Naj Panulong, maybe we will be supporting, based on the presentation of the representative of our Senior Minister, Honorable Abdurrauf Makakwa, we will be supporting this bill because we believe that this bill is very insupportive in the ground that it protect and improve the quality of life of its inhabitants. Second is a careful plan, the ecological balance and the natural resources for its use in the future generation. So with that legal ground, we will be supporting this bill. We hope that this bill will come into a law which implement the Bangsamoro inhabitants. And I am also very thankful for your invitation because it's only yesterday I arrived because I am on tour in the island provinces of Tawi-Tawi and Hulu. inspecting the mines industries there in Tawi-Tawi and also in Kulu. But actually, I am on the field. I only have in this office for 2 days only. So with this, I am very thankful to you, Chair, for your invitation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Minister. We are also cognizant that you are busy and you took time to be with us today and expressing your support for the bill. But we take note, sir, that you have several directors and officers coming from MENRE. We have Director Jalani Pamlian, who is Director 2 of the Environment Management Service. We have Director 2 of the Biodiversity Research and Development Services, Mr. Muhammad Ali Dimaren. Nandito ba siya? I'm sorry. And Mr. Nasiri Abbas, Director of Energy Management Services, and Director Rafael Remo of the Mines and Geosciences Services. If you will allow, Minister, maybe also hear from the personnel, the officers of MENRE, if they have specific concerns regarding their maybe affecting the area of responsibility of these different units of the MENRE. If nandito pa rin po si Director Abbas, Director Remo, and Abbas, Remo, and Director Pamlian po.
So po, mas mabuti pa ko, we will be asking them if they are present.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So any of the directors I mentioned?
Anyway, we have Director Nasirin Abbas.
Yes. Okay. Director Abbas.
He's also present.
Yes, from the Energy Management Services. Do you
wish
to express any concern, Director Abbas?
Okay, ma'am.
Director Abbas, Director Nasiri Abbas, maybe here.
Hello po.
Yes.
Am I loud and clear po?
Yes po. Go
Okay,
ahead,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Madam Chair and Minister Ahmad Brahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to each and everyone po. At isang makakalikasang umaga rin po sa atin lahat. Of course, first and foremost, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to be here today for this momentous event, for discussing the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. And second, my courtesy and respect, of course, to each and everyone, especially the honorable members of the parliament who are present today, and our different colleagues from the different ministry, and of course to the different academies, and if we have some private sector here, again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Madam Chair, I have a few comments, suggestion, and of course, question na rin po, no? Under the section 5, powers and functions, letter C, E, and section 6, technical support staff. For the section 5, powers and function, letter C, monitor and review the implementation of the policies, plans, and programs to be adopted. Would it be possible, Madam Chair, to be more specific on this provision, like the earlier comments, no, na sinasabi, at least kahit paano, specific kung ano-ano yung mga policies, plans, and programs na i-review and i-monitor, no? Second is under section 5, letter E, promote the effective. After the effective po, I would recommend po if possible, na dagdagan natin ng and responsible, no? Promote the effective and responsible use of economic resources and endeavor to attain economic development that facilitates growth and full employment, human development, and social justice. And my last comments or a question, I think, Section 6 technical support staff. The TSS shall be under Ministry of Environment, Natural Resource and Energy and shall be headed by a director. When we say director po, is it a new plantilla po or it is the same director that were being occupied by na-occupy na po? Yun lang po for the
Okay, thank you, Director Abbas. We will consider the concerns that you raised or questions, specifically paragraph 6 of section 5, as to what policies, programs, and plans are to be monitored. And then the proposal to add responsible after the word effective in paragraph E of section 5. And then your question regarding the position of director of the TSS, whether it is a new plantilla position, and therefore maybe a separate unit altogether, and not the current director position of TSS under MENRE. Sige po, we don't have answers to these questions. I think we will have to wait for the deliberations and decision of the Committee on Rules, and then which will eventually be submitted to the Parliament. But we will flag the questions so that we have answers to these questions in our deliberations. Salamat, Director Abbas from the Energy Management Services of MENRE. Can we now go to the Environment Management Service, Director Jalani Pamlian of MENRE? Meron po ba kayong concerns regarding the bill? Director Pamlian. Can we move to Director Remo, Rafael Remo, who is Director of Mines and Geosciences Services of MENRE?
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikumussalam, sir.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am happy to be included in this invitation on the part of the MENRE group. I would like to suggest that the provincial level of sustainable development will be included in the creation as an advisory body to the committee in order that this committee will be inclusive. And I also suggest that the original version, that the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Framework philosophy be included in the bill, and of course, the Bangsamoro Development Framework Plan. Thank you for this opportunity, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Director Pamlian. So your proposal is supporting the position of MOST that there should be provisions on sustainable development philosophy and framework. And that I didn't clearly get the first one, that there should be an advisory body, but in the local level, I am not quite sure if I got that right. Tama po ba, Director Pamlian? Advisory body, but in the local level.
Tama po, tama po.
Would you like to clarify? So, ibig sabihin po ba ay maraming advisory bodies since local po ang pinopropose ninyo? At anong level po? Province?
Provincial level lang po.
So, 5 provinces and maybe the SGA?
Yes.
So, separate advisory bodies in these levels. Tama, sir?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Provincial. Okay, thank you, Director Pamlian from Environment Management Service. Can we now call on Director Remo, Rafael Remo, from the Mines and Geosciences Services? Nawala na siya. Sige. Anyway, we'd like to ask the Minister, Minister Ibrahim, if any of your services, units under the MENRE would have specific proposals, comments, they can still submit their position papers, hopefully within the day or at the latest siguro po ay bukas. Salamat, MENRE. Can we now move to, let's go first to we have invited the Bangsamoro, the Bangsamoro Women Commission, represented by Ms. Helen Rojas. Go ahead po.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, my courtesy to the Senior Minister, who is the principal author of this bill, MP Abdul Rauf Makakwa, and of course to the co-authors present in this consultation today, especially to MP Engineer Maintan Ampatuan, my former boss from the RPDO, and of course the chair of the Technical Working Group, MP Attorney Raisa Jajuri. Good morning. I am tasked to present the position of the Bangsamoro Women Commission on the proposed bill. The Bangsamoro Women Commission fully supports the passage of this bill. The creation of the board will support the Commission's mandate of ensuring that gender is mainstreamed in regional mechanisms. Now, to further enhance the gender responsiveness of the bill, we have 6 comments and inputs. First, on the explanatory note, line number 20, which states 2017-2022 and recognized that it needed to transform the world. Our recommendation is instead of the word world, we change it to nation. Then second comment also on the explanatory note, second paragraph, just like the position of MOST, instead of using the word inclusivity principle, we propose to use the word intergenerational responsibility, which is a present-day duty for the benefit of the forthcoming generations. Our third comment or input, this is on page 3, paragraph G, line number 9. It recognizes the important role and contribution. We recommend to add the words and contribution of women in nation building and regional development, ensuring their meaningful participation. So instead of the word representation, we propose the word meaningful participation in decision making, omit the word other, ensuring their meaningful participation in decision making and policy determining bodies. Instead of the Bangsamoro government, we propose policy determining bodies at all levels of government. Our fourth input, this is on section 4, composition. Paragraph G, insert the word chairperson, Bangsamoro Youth Commission. Paragraph H, insert the word chairperson for Bangsamoro Women Commission. And we propose to add the academe and civil society as members of the board. Our next comment, this is on section 5, powers and functions. So we are proposing na for a more logical and organized presentation of the powers and functions. Paragraph A is retained. We propose that it should be retained as paragraph A, but paragraph B, it should be paragraph E. So paragraph A retained, then next paragraph, paragraph B, it should be promote the effective use of economic resources and endeavor to attain economic development that facilitates growth and full employment, human development, and we propose to insert the word gender equality and social justice. So that paragraph E should now be paragraph B. Paragraph C, retained, monitor, and review the implementation of the policies, plans, and programs to be adopted. Paragraph D, because this paragraph D and paragraph B, the original version, paragraph B, which provide measures for environmental justice and governance. We believe that they should go together, so dapat magkasunod sila. So paragraph D, retained to conduct investigation. Then paragraph E should now be paragraph B, provide measures for environmental justice. Then paragraph F and G, retained. So yung proposal namin dito, again, to ulitin ko lang, no? So yung paragraph E, paragraph A, retain siya, but paragraph B should now be yung original na paragraph E, which is to promote the effective use of economic resources. Paragraph C, retain siya, monitor and review the implementation. Paragraph D, to conduct investigation. Paragraph E, yung original na paragraph B, provide measures for environmental justice. Paragraph F and G, retained. No? So, yan yung aming proposal. Then, Section 6, our last input. Section 6, this is about the TSS. Then we propose another section, which is on the duties and responsibilities of the technical support staff. That would be all, Madam Chair. We will also be submitting a written, our position paper with our comments and inputs.
Thank you, Ms. Helen Rojas of BWC. We take note of the proposed, the comments and proposed amendments, particularly in the explanatory note, where the word world should be changed to nation. Nation. And then for the word inclusivity, to change the same to intergenerational responsibility. And in relation to page 3, which is, I think, page 3 is the composition. Yes, but the proposal is to add end contribution instead of just the role of women, but also end contribution, as well as that part where on their participation, to change it to their meaningful participation. And instead of Bangsamoro government, you want to change to policy-making bodies at all levels. For the composition, you want to explicitly state that it should be the chairs of BWC and BYC who should sit in the board, and to add the representatives from the academe and the CSOs. As to powers, you want to exchange the order of paragraphs B and E, and that there should be inclusion of the phrase gender equality, and I didn't get that part.
This is
and social justice.
Gender equality and social justice. Yes,
Okay.
yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, and then for Section 6, or actually it's outside of Section 6, we propose that there should be another provision explicitly stating the duties and responsibilities of the TSS. Correct?
Yes,
Tama?
yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Helen Rojas, and we look forward to a written submission on those matters or maybe additional matters that were not taken up today. Thank you, BWC. Punta po tayo. We have invited the Bangsamoro Center for the Continuing Review of Renewable Energy, or BCCRRE, represented by its president, Mr. Nash Maulana. They have submitted a written position paper, but nawala na siya. Okay, can you ask him if he can still present? Otherwise, we will make use of the written position paper that he has already submitted. So can we now go to MAFAR? I saw the name of MP and Minister Muhammad Yaqub earlier, or any other representative from MAFAR po. Minister Yaqub?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair.
Ayun. Yes, go ahead, Minister Yaqub, for your comments on BTA Bill number 53. Thank you for waiting. Mahaba po kasi ang listahan.
Madam Chair. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. First of all, my courtesy to the principal authors of this measure, Honorable MP Abdurrahman Makakwa, and the rest of the principal authors, like Honorable MP by Intan, and the members of TWG who are with you this public consultation, Madam Chair. So on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Agrarian Reform, we are expressing our thanks and appreciation to the authors of this measure. We see how important this in helping the monitoring the development, economic developments in the Bangsamoro. Madam Chair, siguro mag-take note na lang ang Secretariat for our comment kasi last night ko pa nabasa yung actually the invitation na I'm part of the resource person as representing MAFAR. So dahil sa kabisi namin for the preparation of our MANCOM meeting in Basilan starting tomorrow, ay hindi po ako nakaka-invite ng mga officers po namin sa MAFAR dahil they are now going to Basilan. So ako na lang ang naglakas ng loob to participate in this consultation. Anyway, I don't have many things to say. It is only few things that I think meron akong gustong i-recommend na i-consider and some clarification, and after that clarification dun magbabase yung my recommendation regarding the structure and the membership. Anyway, on the declaration of policies, sa BARM ngayon ay we are developing the food security and Islamic finance, in which sa tingin ng leadership ay mahalaga. In fact, noticed that the Chief Minister created the task force on food sufficiency. And also he created also the Islamic finance to develop in place as part of our governance system in the Bangsamoro. So therefore, if that possible, Mr. Chair, I am recommending that part of the declaration of policies, the food security principle, especially on number C, and I quote, it shall promote the effective use of economic resources and develop and endeavor to attain economic development. So if possible, maybe if we can insert food security and social justice. So, and I don't know, saan natin i-insert yung principle of Islamic finance, because Madam Chair, in other Muslim countries, is as means to respond the SDGs nila ay kinukonsider yung mga commodities under the Islamic finance, yung mga production nila like waqf and other means of sustainability, economic sustainability for the poor people in their country. So therefore, Madam Chair, I am very I very appreciate if Islamic finance principle be considered in the declaration of policies as our policies in making sustainable Bangsamoro board. So that first. Second, Madam Chair, let me start on clarification, but not need to be answered here. The relation of this measure, if will be approved by the Parliament, what is the relation in terms of powers and function with the BTA? We are all aware the BTA chaired by the knowledge than Chief Minister, na ito po ay composed of 5 sectors na headed by different ministers. So ang clarification ko ay ano po ang relation nitong pinupropose na natin na bill na creation of Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board when it comes of its power and function, dahil hindi po ako masyado aware doon sa function ng BTA, na siguro part of the function ay monitor and review the development process in Bangsamoro region, and in fact sila po yung nag-a-approve whatever we propose, especially the development plan natin dito sa ano. If this measure, creation of the Sustainable Development Board, ay equal putting in term of power and function, I'm recommending, Mr. Chair, na kung hindi ang Chief Minister ang maging chair of this board, ay siya mismo ang mag-designate ng sino po ang kaniyang i-appoint as mabigyan ng more power, not just the level of the minister, kundi representing the Chief Minister, because yun na yung sana, kasi cross-cutting ito sa lahat ng mga ministries. And if that the case, Mr. Chair, I think yun ang make this board na function as mag-review, supervise ng other development activities in the Bangsamoro. And siguro based on that level, I'm suggesting na kung hindi naman BPDA as part of the secretary or technical support team ng but I'm recommending na malaki ang role ng BPDA in this in term of the technical support services, Madam Chair. So on the membership, I think para ma-accommodate na natin yung other council and yung sinasabi nila kanina, baka we can divide the membership into permanent status and observer status. I see the list of the members here as a permanent status, and they have the voting power of the voting. But the other council and other proposed na gusto natin i-membro, just a status of observer. They cannot vote, but we can access their proposal through the meeting kasi makaka-attend din sila. So that's in the membership. On the technical support services, I think nasabi ko na kanina na if the level of this measure equal with the BTC, must be higher position ang mag-head nito, and the same time ang BPDA kailangan po na malaki ang kanilang papel in the support services, technical support services, because they are the one also have the development plan of they are the one developing the development plan and even the priority agenda of the chief minister. Sila pa rin ang nagde-develop. So malaking bagay yung kanilang rules in powers and function of the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. So yun ang our comment, Mr. Chair. Wala po kaming position paper kasi hindi po namin nakaya because busy for the preparation of MANCOM, ang MAFA. But iyan ang pinaka namin contribution namin, if it be considered fine. Kung hindi naman, wala namang problema. At least, unless we share our stand for this mission, Mr. J. Thank you very much.
Thank you po, and definitely we will consider all proposals and comments, Minister Yacob. Let me just run through what you said. Yung summary lang po, as to the declaration of policies, you want the inclusion of food sufficiency and maybe Islamic finance to be included. There is the question on the relationship of BDSB, the board, and the BEDC. No? And ang proposal po ninyo is to consider the chief minister as the chair, or he can designate someone else to take on that role. And for BPDA to provide technical support, no? And that theory is that BDSB is a high-level policy-making body, no, that requires the chairship of the chief minister, someone who is higher than the other ministries. And then your proposal is also to have two sets of members. One would be permanent members and the with voting powers, and then a set of members who will be observers who can participate or who can be in the meetings but they cannot make a vote. And in relation to the role of BPDA, yung technical secretariat should be BPDA if the chief minister is the chair. Yun po ang aking understanding. Minister Jacob, tama po ba or may mali?
Mr. Chair, doon lang sa food insertion of food security, hindi po food sufficiency.
Food security.
Yes.
In the Declaration of Principles. Okay. Maraming salamat, Minister Jacob, for joining us and for giving your comments and proposals to Parliament Bill number 53, despite your hectic schedule. So, can we now move to the Ministry of Labor and Employment? We have Attorney Haris Pungyaman, who is Chief Legal of said ministry. Attorney.
Mr. Chair, permission to leave?
Yes, sir. Minister Jacob, you are excused pa. Thank you. So, Attorney Pungyaman from Mole? Pingyaman. Sorry. Pingyaman. Okay. Sir?
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Director, yun. Sorry. Go ahead, Attorney.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Medyo choppy kayo, sir. Sige, try again. Sige, sir. Baka
Courtesy and respect to the principal author of this BTA Parliament Bill number 53, no less than the Senior Minister MP Abdurrauf Seyma. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Go ahead po. Medyo nawawala-wala, pero try po natin. Diretso po.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yan.
Can you hear me
sir.
now, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay,
Please proceed.
Okay, ma'am. At the outset, we would like the Ministry of Labor and Employment would like to express its thanks and appreciation for us to be one of the stakeholder consultation for this BTA Bill number 53, also known as the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board Act of 2022. Okay, and on the Mole Minister Dato Muslimin Sema, and this ministry we would like to commend and of our constitutional rights, helpful ecology, and also the social justice. We in the Ministry of Labor and Employment are also glad that this BTA Bill number 53 seeks to promote employment and development, which are also among the mandates of this ministry.
the comments, we would like to share the comments of this ministry to some provisions of this BTA Bill number 53. First, in the composition 4, item 3. So we would like to suggest that instead of executive secretary or its equivalent position, considering that equivalent position is senior minister, we would like to propose that it be changed to senior minister of the bar. Also, G and H, considering that the enumerated members of this board deals with the head of agencies, particularly ministers, we are proposing that the word chairperson be added to the before the word Bangsamoro Youth Commission. So it will be chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission. And also in letter H, we propose that it include the word chairperson also, or chairperson of the Bangsamoro Women Commission. For the last paragraph of section 4, considering that a while ago it has been discussed that the representatives or members of this board coming from the national government will be of similar function or counterpart from the members in the Bangsamoro government. We are proposing that the last paragraph be changed as follows: provided that the national government shall nominate its representatives of similar functions with the above mentioned members to the board. Okay, to proceed, in section 5, letter B, we would like to ask why the bill specifically stated only for the reduction of vulnerability of women and marginalized groups only to climate change and variability, where in fact all of us human beings are vulnerable to climate change. So we are proposing to promote environmental justice, as mentioned in this letter B. We are proposing to change or amend this letter B as follows: provide measures for environmental justice and governance, as well as for the reduction of the vulnerability of Bangsamoro people to climate change and variability. So para mas general po siya. Okay. In section 6, second paragraph, first sentence. A while ago, we are discussing, it has been discussed that, or it has been asked if this 6 new plantilla position for the head of the TSS. So we recommend that if this deals with the new plantilla position, that the word director be specified. So it could either be director 1, 2, 3, or 4, because this has an impact to the budget. Okay, that is our comments. And to this end, again, we would like to commend and congratulate the drafters, the authors, and the TWG members for this vital bill. Rest assured that the Ministry of Labor and Employment is support development and passage of this bill. And we look forward for the immediate passage of this important bill. Thank you. Assalamualaikum wabarakatuh.
Yeah, thank you, Attorney Pinyaman from Mole. I think that is the last agency of the BARM that has sent its representative. We do not have anyone from other BARM agencies. Wala po ang MTIT, MIPA, MILG, RBOI. Okay. Or anyone na hindi ko po natawag who still wants to speak. We have Maradika, which we invited last week. May I call on... Ay. Sino yung DSW? Sure ka na may Maradika? Maradika, can you unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and give your comments?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello, good morning po. Please proceed for your comments. Pakilala lang din po sana.
Good morning and assalamualaikum. Naririnig po ba kami? Hello?
Yes, sir. Si Maradika po muna. Sino po ang... sige, go ahead. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Mayroon lang kami recommendation doon sa sa composition ng board. Kasi napansin namin na parang wala doon ang social work. Am I right?
Wala po.
Oo.
Yes, sir.
Ang recommendation sana namin is masali sila. At saka yung mga NGOs, parang wala ring representation sa board. Yung mga NGO palaging nasa field, so I think mas maganda kung represented ang mga NGOs. Tapos, yung ating education sector, yung MBETH, no? Kasi kung kailangan natin ng how to educate the people about the environment, preserving the environment, kailangan natin talaga sila. So, bali, tatlo yun, yung DSWD, MSWD, yung representation ng NGO at saka yung sa educational sector. Mayroon kaming iniisip dito na I hope na this will not be taken as baka nagabigay kami ng lecture sa mga BAM officials, pero gusto lang namin iparating yung mga other observations na baka pwedeng yung drafter ng bill makonsider nila. Like for instance, mayroong observation na actually ang problema natin sa environment, mayroon akong kaibigan noon na ulama na sinabi niya nasira yung ating environment dahil pinabayaan natin ang science. Science was not guided by religion. Kaya, kung ano yung na-invento nila, whether it is good or bad, in-implement nila, and sometimes it resulted to bad consequences, particularly doon sa environment. Isa na dito, for instance, na naisip ko is about the discovery of itong nuclear, no? Ngayon, mayroon tayong nuclear medicine. Yung nuclear can be used to generate electricity. Pero kapag ginawa natin nuclear bomb, it is very disastrous. No? And I think yung main goal ng sinasabi natin sustainable development is yung how to preserve the environment so that the next generation can enjoy the environment as we enjoy it today. One of the best example na nakita dito sa amin sa Lana del Sur, for instance, is, okay, nakita natin na maganda yung using the flow of the Agus River to generate electricity. Pero hindi na consider yung side effect niya doon sa mga isda ng Liklanaw. When I was still in Bangsamoro College, we listed yung panahon ng Civic Lanao movement, we listed about 22 indigenous species ng mga isda sa lake. Ngayon, ang natural lang siguro is 2. So, science, as I was saying, should be guided by religion, no? Kaya sabi ko, ano pa ito, yung ang ating mga i-implement ng mga programs, kailangan siguro na mag-guide ng ating religious teaching. And there is another one thing na very popular sa mga community development workers. Noong una, ang akala ko, ang nagsabi nito si Paulo Freire. Itong sinabi, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. But teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Ito pala, ang original na nagsabi nito, marami kasing nag-claim na original nito is yung founder ng Taoism, Chinese philosopher na si Lao Tzu. No? Pero actually, ito very important din ito dahil yung sinabi ko doon sa una, we really need to educate our people about consequences of what they are doing. No? Kung mayroon silang plano na gagawin, ano kaya ang magiging consequences nito? So, if we want, lumabas yung halimbawa, lumabas yung issue on, di ba ang issue on how to preserve itong mga, how to protect yung ating mga animals. Dahil we want the next generation, halimbawa nakakita tayo ng tiger, baka yung next generation hindi na makakita ng tiger, so we need to protect them. So lumabas yung issue on protection of these different animals, different species, no? So, ang resulta nito, I think kailangan ma-educate natin ang mga tao, ma-educate natin sila sa mga processes. If we want development, then we have to do it in a certain way that we can still preserve the environment para mag-enjoy ang next generation. Yan lang po. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, sir. Just to put your name on record, can you identify, sir, yung pangalan nyo as representative of Maradeka?
Ako si Dr. Mokhtar Matuan, previously
si Sir
Director ng Institute of Peace and Development. Consultant po nila ako dito.
Okay, thank you, Sir Mokhtar, for your input, and we will consider them. Specifically, yung gusto nyo pong ma-review ng technical working group or ng Committee on Rules ay ang composition, which would be, ang proposal is to include MSSD and MBHTE, and then NGOs po.
Yes,
and then
yes,
the others are things that should be considered by the board itself when it deliberates and decides on policies, no? On yung biodiversity, etc. Thank you, sir. Salamat po sa Maradeka. We see the name of Mr. Bernardo Pasqua of BSWM.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir. Ano po yung BSWM?
Bureau of Soils and Water Management.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Clear, ma'am. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Clear. Yes, I am Bernardo Pasqua, Chief Almed of the Bureau of Soils and Water Management under the Department of Agriculture. As per instruction of our DAU Sec, Sir Adriano Permin, to take part in this meeting, and on behalf of our Director, Engineer Pablo M. Montalia, the BSWM is supporting the BTA Parliament Bill number 53, otherwise known as the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board of 2020. The BSWM is willing to be a member of the TWG to provide land resources information related to soil and water resources for sustainable land management on agriculture and environment. Maraming salamat, ma'am.
Sige, sir. Would you like to submit a written position?
Actually,
on the
yes,
matter?
ma'am. Yun lang, ma'am, ang i-official namin to, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yung
Okay.
sinabi ko.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, we will wait for the written submission kung meron.
Yes,
Sir.
ma'am. Actually, kwan lang, ma'am. Supporting lang, ma'am, yung bill.
Support lang. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's no specific provision that you would like us to
Yes, ma'am. Okay lang. Yes,
review. Okay. Okay, thank you, Sir Mr. Bernardo Pascua of BASWM ng Department of Agriculture. May we call on Mr. Datun Salipada? Nandun po yata sa list of participants na nasa Zoom. We don't know what organization. Baka gusto niyo pong magsalita. Mr. Salipada? Wala. Sige, kung wala na, I think that ends. Sige, go ahead, Mr. Salipada, Datun Salipada. Would you like to give your comments to the bill? Sir Salipada? Nawala. Sige sir, anyway, if you have comments at hindi nyo na po masabi dito, you may still submit a written position on the matter. Okay. Meron din pong participant coming from DA, but we're not sure what specific unit. FPCMD. Baka may gusto pong sabihin. DA, tapos dash FPCMD. Or anyone else po na nasa Zoom na hindi ko pa po na-acknowledge at gusto pong magbigay ng kanyang comment sa ating bill. Wala na talaga. Okay. Anyway, we thank everyone who joined us. We will hear from the Deputy Speaker Omar Sema, but at this point, let me just thank everyone. No, we have a good number of participants as resource persons coming from the academe. I think we have 6. Specifically MSU IIT, MSU Naawan, CSU, MSU Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, and Maguindanao. Sa NGOs po, we had Lanao del Sur People's Council, LBO, TACOS, Unipad Ranao, Adat Betad, BCCRRE, who was not able to speak but has submitted its position paper. Mataukasi, Nagdilaab Foundation, and Maradika. 10 po pala, including the one that submitted its position paper. And then we have from development partners, UN World Food Program, UNDP, World Bank. And then from the private sector, nagsali din po sa meeting si SR Languyan Mining Corporation, but we're still waiting for their position paper. We had Lamsan. From the non-Moro IPs, we have 2 organizations, Timoy Justice and Governments, and Arumanen Manovo from the SGA area. And today, we had 6 national agencies, some of them represented by USEX and commissioners, no? NEDA, DNR, DA, DTI, NCIP, PCW. And then we have the GOCC, NAPOCOR. From BARM, we had representatives from 7 ministries and agencies, MENRE, MAFAR, MOST, BPDA, BYC, BWC, and also MOLE. and regional offices na nag-participate din po from NEDA. And actually, we were asking BNR Region 12 pero hindi na po nagsalita. And then we had experts, no? Si Mr. Gelson Garcia, but who's connected to ADB and Bantay Kita. And then we look forward to the position paper of Abdul Win Sangkula as an independent expert on the matter. So we thank everyone. Yes. And aside from them, we got a position paper coming from Dr. Chelo Magno from UP School of Economics. And yeah, Nash was already mentioned. Sige, so baka other groups and agencies may still be submitting their position papers as they promised. Medyo marami-rami na po, substantial, and we will consolidate all the comments and submit that to the Committee on Rules as mandated po ng TWG. But at this point, may we hear from the Deputy Speaker, MP Attorney Omar Yasser Sema, for a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the Committee on the Technical Working Group on the Committee on Rules, particularly on this proposed bill, the BTA Parliament Bill number 53, or an act creating the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board. I think this technical working group has already done its due diligence work on making sure that this proposed bill is heard of and discussed of and deliberated by all sectors, particularly those in the economic, environmental, and social, ba ito? Yeah, social sectors. And I am confident that you have heard the recommendations, observations, and comments coming from those mentioned sectors. Particularly, personally, this bill has meaning to me as an MP also, because I also advocate for sustainable development following the teachings in Oposa and Factoran, where we have our intergenerational responsibility to ensure that the rights of the welfare of the younger and the next generations are preserved, sustained, and protected. With that, I congratulate the technical working group for exhausting. I think you already had two public consultations, and I congratulate you on that, and I hope that all of those recommendations are really included and indicated in this proposed bill. Again, to the chair and to the members of this technical working group, I congratulate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Actually, we have still one activity. I'm not sure if they have confirmed, pero yung Palawan Council for Sustainable Development was invited originally for the public consultation, but since we may get a lot of inputs from them as a mechanism on looking at sustainable development, we have asked them to meet with us separately at 4 p.m. Pero hindi pa nag-reply. So we will wait, no, for the signal when or if the meeting will push through at 4 p.m. Sige. If they can do it earlier, yes, that would be better. But we will leave the secretariat to do that. And to close this meeting, this public consultation, first we want to thank also the MPs who are here, who are not members of the TWG but have taken the time to listen and listen from the resource persons. Marami pong salamat. I will ask MP Dr. Susana Anayatin to give a closing remarks for this consultation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My respect to the authors of this Parliament Bill number 53, Senior Minister Abdulrauf Makakwa, MP by Intan Ampatuan, and the rest. Also to the TWG Chair, Minister Raisa Jajuri, our Deputy Minister Attorney Omar Sema. Magandang tanghali na po. We are all stakeholders of sustainable development, and I take pleasure learning from our resource speaker, being with the academe pursuing sustainable development studies at the postgraduate level. So we express our gratitude and appreciation to our resource speakers from different sectors who joined us since March 16 and 17 until today. Thank you very much for the inputs. Now we have an enriched proposed Parliament Bill number 53, establishing the Sustainable Development Board in the Bangsamoro. Thank you very much and have a good day. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Susan. And with that, we conclude the consultation. Bukod sa pasasalamat uli, we will ask the Secretariat. They have made a consolidation of the comments in the last session, in the last consultation, and they can add on those comments that came out of today's consultation for submission to the Committee on Rules. I think we will take the cue from the Committee on Rules on whether the deliberation can start this week and whether it can proceed to the drafting and then the submission of a committee report for inclusion in the order of business of the Parliament. So we'll just ask the Committee on Rules whether that is possible, up to what point we can push this process.
More time, I am actually passing a resolution authorizing all committees to continue with their committee deliberations and meetings on important bills and measures during the break.
Okay.
Yan.
So
May
maybe
ipapasa ko
the
resolution.
Committee on Rules, if they cannot proceed up to the submission to the Parliament, can make use of that authorization arising out of resolution. Okay, with that, marami pong salamat. Magandang umaga po. This TWG meeting is adjourned. Okay.